No, ultimately that's where that policy ends up. And being fiscally conservative. Look, I think the majority of Americans are fiscally conservative, and I think the majority of Americans are socially liberal. The notion of allowing you to make choices that you ought to be able to make. I think it's ironic that here in Washington, D.C., which legalized marijuana last night officially, that Republicans are talking about putting the mayor in jail for implementing a policy that was voted on by the citizenry of Washington, D.C.
70%, I think.
70%. And who is it that stands up for the rights of municipalities, of local government? Well, hasn't that always been Republicans that stand up for government,
federalism and small government?
Small government, federalism, states? Well, it's terribly ironic, and shame on the Republicans for threatening to put the mayor behind jail for implementing what has been implemented in Washington, D.C. And I think it's indicative of a lot of political action. And look, I'd like to call the Republicans out on their inconsistency.
I think we need more debate. We need more people to do the Socratic interviews, like I just suggested with Santorum. And but the bottom line is that libertarians are stuck with this choice. People that are committed to personal freedom and economic freedom. Either we work inside the Republican Party. You did that very successfully in New Mexico, and I want to congratulate you again for that.
Thank you.
Or we work outside and try to run an independent candidate in a winner-takes-all kind of election where third parties can never qualify. It's just like running your head against a wall, basically.
Well, and
what can we do? I mean, what you've experienced, you've used both strategies. Right.
Well, right now our America Initiative, which is my political arm, we are suing the Presidential Debate Commission that if you are on the ballot in enough states to mathematically be elected president, that you should be included in the debates. Now, last election, that would have been the Libertarian Party and the Green Party added to Republicans and Democrats, and at a minimum, the requirement by the Presidential Debate Commission that says that you have to be at 15% in the polls to qualify for the debates. Well, how about at a minimum a requirement that the polls contain only the names that can in fact be elected president? In this case, Jill Stein and myself would have been added to those polls during the last election cycle.
Right, so at a minimum, let you be in the debate, but there's still this dynamic that's working against you, which is in a winner-takes-all election, where you don't have proportional representation like in most countries in Europe, there is a push to the middle to get that 51% and eke out the other party. And this works against third parties all the time.
Because it ends up to always be a vote of the lesser between two evils, instead of voting for the person that you most believe in.
And if we could get proportional representation, we could then get our foot in the door.
And I just don't see that happening. I mean, looking at this from a reality standpoint, that's not going to change. But I do think that there is a chance that if heard, and in this case through the presidential debates, that's the only chance that a third party has of potentially winning.
So I remember maybe 10 years ago, I worked hard for the Free State Project. And why? Because it was clear to me 25 years of the Libertarian Party using the same strategy didn't work. We needed a new strategy, which was look for the weak link in the chain and concentrate on some place where we can get some political power, some congressional district, some governorship, something, which is better than nothing. And we were unable to persuade the Libertarian Party to even endorse the Free State Project. And actually, we did persuade them by a margin of just 1 vote. And the chairman, who had said that he would remain neutral in this issue, he wouldn't intervene, when he saw that we were 1 vote ahead and we had won the motion, he voted against. The motion tied, and they didn't endorse. So that was another possibility, to try to focus all the muster, the money on one.
I'm disappointed in hearing that. I didn't realize that that endorsement was asked for, and I think that that was an opportunity missed. Right. Sounds like an opportunity missed.
So we've tried that. I think maybe that's something that might work in the future. But here's I don't want to end on a sour note here, but it seems to me that the Tea Party has put the Libertarian Party to shame. Because the Tea Party, who are really novices, don't really understand that much about political theory. They just know they're being abused, and they're tired of it. And they changed the scene. They changed. They had an effect.
Well, I would disagree.
Why can't the Libertarian Party have as much influence as the Tea Party has?
Well, I would disagree.
Okay.
I think the Libertarian Party does have greater influence. I think the Tea Party really is just a right-wing social conservatives. At least that's what it has morphed to this point.
Well, it was mostly about economic freedom and about.
I think it started out that way. I think it started out with
dollars
and cents, but I think
that it has by the social conservatives.
And that isn't to say that the Tea Party people that are here at CPAC aren't the former rather than the latter, but overall the latter has taken over, and by the latter, really the social conservative agenda of disgruntled Republicans. That's the Tea Party. That's the major Tea Party thrust of today.
Well, you have your finger on that pulse, so I won't dispute that. You know probably much more than anybody else does about it.
I wouldn't. if there's anything that I hope comes out of this is but this is simply my opinion.
Okay, Gary, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the interview, and somehow people can get some kind of inspiration, even though we weren't that inspiring. At least I wasn't.
All right, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.